Good afternoon, everyone. Jason here. Today is January 13th, and this is your aftermarket update. All right, as you can tell from the price ladder at the top left of the screen, we had a very good trading day in here today. We had a CL trade that went 50 ticks times 2 lots. And again, remember, we are all in and all out. We are not all in and scale out of our trading. So when we do catch the winning trades like this, they do provide an excellent reward to risk ratio. Today's trade was 4-to-1 reward to risk ratio. Now, what we do before we start each trading day is we go through our market analysis. We have our worksheet that we complete, and today was no different. One of the things that we were talking about as we were coming into the trading session today is that the CL had a pretty interesting looking profile in the overnight session. And here is the overnight trade. Let's bring this back here just a little bit. And we'll squeeze this out as well. So let's spread this out. Give me just a second here, and we'll take a look. So one of the things that we talked about as we were heading into the open today is that the value area had been continuing to swing lower. So again, this was a value area. We were overlapping to lower. This particular day in the overnight was inside of the range from the previous RTH session. By the way, the grayed out areas are the overnight session, the ETH session, and the white areas represent the RTH session. So maybe a little bit easier to see. Let me pull this off to the side. We'll go like this. This represents all of the RTH trading sessions. So again, over the course of the last 1, 2, 3 RTH sessions, value had been pushing lower. So there's value area lower, and value area lower. Here is the opening price here today at 59.04. So one of the things that we talked about as we were coming into the market this morning is that our expectation is that the market is trying to push lower to the downside, and that is one of the things that we were making note of as we sat down in here today. Also, this is a 15-minute delta, cumulative delta chart. And if you look here, the open is, let's see, the open is right around this time right here today, 6:45, about right here. All right, so as we were coming in, your delta is below the moving averages. It rallied just a bit and had been coming down. So the sellers were definitely stepping in as we were coming into the open today. And of course, you can see that they accelerated to the downside shortly after the open. And so again, with the idea that the market had been valuing lower, we were looking for potential short opportunities to come in. One of the things that we talk about from the bigger picture perspective today, and let me grab my worksheet here. And here was another reason why we were looking at these possible shorts today. We said that the monthly chart was up, but the weekly, the daily, had been beginning to come into a balance area. We have charts here that we add for that to kind of show examples of what we're looking at. But the bottom line is that despite the fact that the monthly was up, the weekly and the daily had begun to roll over, and the 60-minute chart had definitely started that rolling over process. So that was one of the ideas that we were looking at. And of course, we talked about the fact that the balance, that the value areas had been rotational and rotating lower. So one of the things we're always on the watch out for is this opening drive trade. And again, opening drive here, meaning that the high of the RTH session was also the open, and really we just never looked back. We just sold off all the way to the downside. In fact, if you take a look here and split this profile out, you can see that the market was just pretty much straight to the downside. So that was our idea as we were coming into the market today, is that we felt like the market had the opportunity to look lower rather. That has been the trend over the course of the last several days. A lot of that to do, of course, with the idea that the tensions with Iran had subsided, and in addition to that, the volume as we were heading into the open had been lower as well. Now, one of the mitigating circumstances that we were watching for is what was the volume in the overnight session. The participation was a little bit lower as we were heading into that 8 a.m. hour. This is a relative volume for the day, and so basically it's comparing the previous 4 Mondays at these different times. And as you see, as we got right here into the open, we were only 73% of the relative volume for the previous 4 Mondays. So again, that was a little bit of a concern as we were wondering if the market was going to actually do something or not at the open. But again, for me, the idea here, the overwhelming idea, was that the market had been trying to push to the downside. We had been rotating up, couldn't make a new high. So again, the market had come down overnight, made a new high, rotated, could not push through and make a new high. And then again, as I showed you on this cumulative delta chart, right around the 8 a.m. time frame, which is just about right back here, the market had begun that process of crossing underneath these moving averages and had gotten through the zero and had begun to come to the downside and to begin to sell. So that was our idea. As the market opens up, we do get short here off of our daily structure mid. We were talking about wanting to come all the way down into our initial target was going to be the 66 to 76, but we said if the tape was moving more quickly, then we would be looking for a deeper push into this DS target. In fact, we were trying to hold on for the underside. Again, there's 10 ticks of variance around those levels that we look at. So we were looking at this here is 38. We were really looking for 28. 48 to 28 was going to be the area that we thought we could target. And if you just draw a rectangle here from 48 down to 28, that gives you kind of an idea of where the zone of influence of that level is. Then the market opens, comes down, pulls back here, and then eventually takes out the bottom there at that 28 that we were looking for. In fact, our market maker levels really gave you some good structure today as the market comes right down into the extension 1 and then rallies for about 35 ticks. And that's kind of how the day went. So what I'm gonna do is show you actually where we get into the trade. You're gonna see us get in around 93, and then we're gonna take that 93 up here at the DS mid and try to ride it as far as possible. But you'll be able to see where we get in, and then you'll be able to see kind of how the trade progresses, and then you'll be able to see exactly where it is that we get out. So again, we were looking at the big picture perspective. We noticed that the market had been trying to roll over. We'd been value areaing lower, meaning that the value areas from the previous, really the previous 4 or 5 days had been rolling to the downside. So again, the market's value had been getting lower. And then, of course, as we got to the open, the volume was telling us that, hey, the shorts look like they're going to work out. So we jumped on board and we got into the trade. And it was a very nice, quick, and easy trading day. So I'm going to let you watch that trade of the day here. What I do is that trade lasted about 45 minutes. So what I'm going to do is chop it up, put a little music behind it. I'll speed it up. I'll let you see where it is that we get in. And then you'll be able to see also where we get out. You'll be able to compare that price ladder at the end of that trade to the one that you see here right now. So without further ado, here is that OTG trade of the day. 93 and the stop will be 05 and the target again 76 to 66.